Hello and welcome back to the Mind Your Rehab. Right, we came up with the title, Mind Your Rehab Podcast. This is a podcast that reviews injury recovery and mindset for active adults. I am Dr. Allison Heffron, and
I'm Dr. Vinny Tagliaferro.
So just some updates on our lives. Yesterday, I bought, this is super mundane. Yesterday, I bought, Vin's going to think I'm going to talk about the McDonald's iced coffee, but that's not what I'm going to talk about.
Wow.
I'm going to talk about how I got deep stain remover toothpaste.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I wanted to, I've tried whitening strips in the past and it made my teeth feel like they were going to just disintegrate. And so I got this.
It's a fun
visual.
I don't know.
Listen, yes, it is. It was so painful. So I looked up, and obviously Reddit gives all the answers. And so Reddit was talking about how if you use like Act mouthwash, like a fluoride mouthwash before and after, that'll help with protecting your teeth, because I guess I hate this, but fills tubules. Like tubules. So
that word, just that word, tubules.
Yeah, I hate it all. It's like the visual of it, all of it. Anyway, so they didn't have any Crest white strips. They only had Colgate. And for some reason, I just think Crest is the one that you're supposed to buy. So instead, I got toothpaste. And it's
because that's what they've taught you to believe.
Well, they've done a great job with their marketing. Now I think that Colgate is trash.
Wow.
I think it's secondhand dollar store whitening strips, even if it's expensive. Into this at all. Why? What would you say about it? You think that I'm brainwashed? You think it's all the same?
I don't think it matters.
No opinion. Okay. What else? In my bodybuilding journey right now, I am starting cardio, which is my nightmare. I told my coach to give me a variety of cardio so I could tell you which one I hate the least, and we'll go with that. And she keeps giving me the bike because we have a Peloton and it's convenient. And I can tell you that the bike is not going to win. I fucking hate the bike. I love cycling outside. I hate stationary biking. Yesterday, Vinny was there with me to help support me by putting on Real Housewives while I cycled. And it was still constantly, I kept turning to you and being like, 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was like
10 minutes.
5 minutes. 10 minutes, 15 or 5 minutes to go. Yeah, you were not enjoying it. But like you said, I mean, I think that's really funny because I know when you started doing athletic endeavors that were outside of team sports, your first thing was a sprint triathlon. So
I said I like cycling outside. I could go for miles, but inside it's like, it's also the seat, everything. It's awful. So yeah. What are you up to?
What am I up to? I've been making a lot of phone calls lately. That's been something that's been a little outside of my comfort zone that I'm doing a great job at, might I add.
You are you're doing a great job.
Thanks. Yeah. And I don't know. I've been watching a lot of The Twilight Zone lately, like the classic The Twilight Zone. I know I was saying this to you earlier, but it's wild to me how the episodes could be like modern day horror stories. Even though they're old and they're in black and white, it never goes out of style. It's constantly something that you could make a horror story out of today and it'd be very believable. So we're not that far off from the 50s as we think we are, I think.
I have a feeling like politically, like the way that we are, I don't know if the word is geopolitically, but it seems like we're going back there. So yeah.
Beautiful segue.
Yeah. Now, welcome to our political podcast, where I know almost nothing.
No.
We've also been, I don't know if we said this last time, but we are Flyers fans for hockey, for those who don't even know what a Flyer is. And they're in the playoffs, and they're they're playing the Penguins, and this is the first year. So Vinny and I have been together for 14 years.
Just about, yeah.
And I've been watching hockey with him that whole time. But up until the last few years, I was not really invested. And part of that is because I couldn't follow the puck on TV. It was always fun in person. I couldn't follow the puck on TV. Now I can. And I'm extremely invested. And I will say, I hate the Penguins so much. It makes my blood boil watching these fucking people play, because the two superstars of the team are the biggest babies I've ever witnessed in a sport. And they also do the most illegal shit. And the reffing is, I put this on my Instagram stories yesterday. The reffing is fucking atrocious. And I want to fire almost all of them. They're terrible.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun sitting next to you and hearing the rage come out while you're watching the game, because it's very different. I mean, you already mentioned the Housewives, but right, it's a very different level of intensity that you reach watching playoff hockey than even a reunion.
When I watch Real Housewives, it's extremely passive. Like, I'm purely enjoying it. It's like, give me more drama. I'm not yelling at the screen. I mean, there are certain Housewives where I'm like, you're disgusting. But the way I feel about hockey, it doesn't feel passive. It feels like, I guess it's passive in the sense where it feels like they're doing something to me.
Yeah.
But I'm very active in it. It's definitely a different participation. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. So that's where we're at. Let us know if you're hockey fans. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, let us know. We want to know.
Let us know everything about you. So today's episode, I wanted to talk about when you're recovering. I don't know if we could label this at like what type of mindset, just so that it's easier to say. But basically, like when somebody is in recovery from an injury and they are, I don't want to call it fear avoidance because it's not necessarily that, but it is like they hit a limit. Basically, they, not a limit in rehab, but they hit a limit in pushing themselves post-injury. And then they feel pain. And then they feel defeated, like they're regressing, like this is their new normal. I would say emotion-wise, having experienced it myself, it could be like grief, anger, and fear. So I've had a lot of these conversations in the past week. I have these conversations regularly, but in the past week, it came up a lot. And it's like people will downplay their progress because they're so focused on the limitation, their temporary limitation that's happening right now, which I understand. But what is really important to know about recovery is that that is part of the process. That's part of why progress is not linear, because essentially it's like you get better, you feel good, so you try pushing yourself, and then you hit pain, and then you have to recover, so you go back down, and then you try again, and you push yourself a little further, and you hit pain again. And then, and I don't know if I just froze, and then you push yourself a little further, and then you drop down because you hit pain. So it's like, for example, just because I feel like this might be it could not make sense, but in real life examples.
Yeah, give us a real life example.
So when I was finally cleared to walk, so just for context, again, I don't even know what we talked about last week, but I shattered my ankle. I dislocated it. I had surgery. I have 3 plates and 19 screws in my ankle. And then, so I was not allowed, it was non-weight bearing for like 3+ months. And so when I was cleared, obviously the first thing that I want to do is go for a walk with my family, with Vinny and the dogs. And basically it's like, I'm pretty sure I made it to like the end of the block or something. And then I had to turn around.
I don't even think you made it to the end of the block the first time.
Yeah, I don't remember. And then I came back and it's like, okay, that's my first time walking. It legitimately felt like I did not own that leg or that ankle. And then for months, it was pretty much making new distances. I would get further and further into the walk, and I would only walk with Vinny because I wouldn't trust walking alone, because I would get to a point in the walk where I went from no pain to like 80% pain pretty quickly in the middle of a walk. And then I would just kind of be limping home, like leaning on Vinny to help me get back. And so the other day I spoke with a patient who just had back surgery. And I think part of the problem, especially when you have surgery or when you have an injury, but especially with surgery, people tend to downplay the seriousness of any surgery, whether it's least invasive to invasive. She had spinal surgery, and she was talking about how basically she seemed like she was really, I don't know the term I'm looking for.
Like down, like she was feeling defeated?
Defeated. She was feeling defeated by the trajectory of her progress. And so we had this discussion, and then I said to her, I was like, your surgery, like, remind me again exactly what the surgery was. And she had what's called a laminectomy, and she had a microdiscectomy. And so a laminectomy is when you get bone removed, and she had it from several segments. And a microdiscectomy is when you have a piece of your disc removed. So when I said back to her, I said, so you had bone taken out of your body and soft tissue, disc, taken out of your body. Does that sound like it's going to be a quick recovery? And she was like, when you put it that way, no. And yeah, no. So part of, I think, where the frustration comes in is there's a lack of connection to, like, you can't see the inflammation that's happening on the inside. And especially if it's your low back, you're very unaware of what that looks like. And even if it doesn't look like it's super swollen on the outside, there's structures that are inflamed and compressing other structures, because there's only so much space for things to be inflamed. So it will start to compress on other structures. And when you start to challenge yourself with activity, you're going to create inflammation. You're aggravating, you're using it. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said, there's so many things that you're not aware of that are happening, right? Like, you're not able to see the inflammation exactly that's going on. I mean, you can't even see if you had stuff removed from your body that was in your body for like 40 years or something like that, right? Like, you're going to have a lot of different tissues. We're talking bone, we're talking tendons, right? There's probably nerves and arteries that are probably getting clipped a little bit in some of those spots too, like tiny ones. I mean, there's a lot that's happening in such a small space that doesn't have any extra space to begin with, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's really a really important thing, specifically for surgery, like you mentioned. Like, hell yeah, absolutely. There's going to be a lot of recovery that needs to happen from that, because your body needs to heal that, figure out what was taken out, how do we reorganize, restructure all those different things. And then on top of that, right, like you were saying, you have joint mechanics that are trying to understand new things. You have sensory or nerves and sensory information that's coming in all over the place. And that's just the physical stuff. That's not even the mental or emotional stuff that comes along on top of all of that. So I think keeping that stuff in mind is helpful. I don't think people get told enough about it in the first place. I think that's part of it also. That was a pretty invasive thing, right? Like, they literally cut into your body, took stuff out. That's pretty invasive.
It's also invasive the other way, where you get stuff added.
Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Because the same thing's happening, right? You still don't have a lot of space there, and we're shoving stuff into space where there's not a lot of space.
That's medical terms.
Medical terms, people and stuff.
Yeah.
I think another thing too that I wanted to touch on what you were saying earlier is, part of our evolution as human beings has been to pay attention to the negative stuff. And that's the way that we have learned to survive over the years. Even if it's not something that we're consciously thinking about, it is something that is hardwired into our nervous systems. So I think that that's something to remind yourself too when you're going through that process. Like we've been noticing in our Limitless Athleticism group coaching program that it's really hard for people to recognize their wins, right? And take ownership of, I challenged myself, I pushed myself, and I succeeded in it. We don't pay enough attention to that, I don't think.
I think even I challenged myself and I tried and I did the thing and maybe I didn't succeed, but like the fact that you had the confidence and the willpower to even try to challenge yourself, that's a sign that you felt a certain way. You had a signal in your body that told you, I feel good enough to try. And that in itself is really good. It's pretty big. And I know that we're talking about surgery, but the same thing goes for just a non-surgical injury, especially if it's a chronic injury where people either don't take care of it, they push it off. I would say that's a big one. It's like when people push off an injury, push off taking care of it for a long time, they're like surprised as to why it's not getting better in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like, how long did you have this injury for before you started taking care of it? 3 years? Okay. And if it was an insidious injury, like let's say it wasn't like a contact injury, it was just something that happened, that is due to time over tension of mechanics not working efficiently. So that means that something was already not really working to the best of its ability, and then you got injured, didn't take care of it, so it got worse and worse, created more compensatory issues, and then you have to uncover all of those layers when you finally take care of it. It's not a quick process. And so challenging yourself can feel like, why the fuck can't I do this yet? It's like, bitch, you spent years.
And when you spend years of avoiding something like that, right? Like we were saying with the post-operative situation, it's like your body's trying to figure out what's going on and it's trying to make adjustments along the way. So if you're doing things, if you're not doing things, if you're avoiding things, or if you're doing things with improper mechanics, like your body's always trying to find the path of least resistance. So if something's not working appropriately, your body's going to try to route around that. And then that's where those compensatory mechanisms show up. And you're always, especially clinically, right? But you're always allowed to have more than one problem going on. And that's how that ends up happening.
Yeah, and I also want to say, like, going back to what you mentioned earlier about like human evolution, always kind of we survived based off of focusing on the negative so that we could survive. The path of least resistance is focusing on the negative.
Yeah, that's so true. Wow.
So if you are unaware, because part of why we're talking about this is to just even bring the awareness so that you can start to take better control over your own thoughts and mindset when you're going through a really difficult time. Like injury recovery, I think a lot of people, no matter what the injury is, no matter how severe the injury is, if it is affecting you on a day-to-day basis, that chips away at you as a person. And
mentally and physically.
Exactly. And so if the path of least resistance is where your body and brain are going to go, the only way that you can like get yourself out of that is by taking control over your body and brain. And it's not easy. Simple is not easy, but it is something to start to exercise. So if you're somebody who's going through an injury right now and you're going through the recovery process and you're frustrated, I want you to know it's okay. It's normal. But also, you will get better as long as you keep staying consistent and trying. And sometimes that means finding a better coach, like a better clinician. It means, I don't know, look at yourself. Are you actually doing what you're supposed to do?
I think it could also mean, right, we touched on this a little bit last time, but like surrounding yourself with people who are going to push you and people who want you to succeed and want you to grow. Right? Like taking something from another area of our life that I think still is very relevant to this topic. It's like we have, right, from a business, we're a business, right? So from the business side of things, we've tried doing things a lot and then learned that they weren't the best way to do things, right? Sometimes you're successful with things, sometimes you're not successful with things. But you can either start going down the rabbit hole of fear, anxiety, anger, all of those things, or you can look at it as an opportunity to learn. You can look at it as something that you have gained experience from so that you can challenge yourself in a better and a different way next time. And I think that that's a really big piece of it is if you tried doing something and it didn't go the way that you were expecting it to, right? Like going back to the patient that you were mentioning before, if she's going for a run and she's not able to hit the run that she wants, she gets 5 minutes in and it starts being painful, right? It's a learning opportunity. It doesn't mean, oh, I suck. My body's never going to get back to the place of where I'll be able to go for the 5-mile run or anything like that, right? It's okay. I'm not ready for that right now. Pause. Like we said last time, ask yourself more questions. What do I need to do to get there? And it's usually, from what we found at least, working with somebody who is more experienced and knows what they're doing and knows how to help other people get there.
Yeah. So to review and just to close it out, when you're going through rehab and you're at the point where you are cleared to start to challenge yourself, and that might be right away, surgery, it's usually longer. If you are challenging yourself and you hit the painful limit, pause, tell yourself, that's okay. This is normal. This is part of the process. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a step back. You're going to do your rehab. You're going to take a couple of days before you try and either reach that same limit or maybe you'll push further and the same exact thing is going to happen. Or maybe not. Maybe you'll just overcome it entirely. But I want to give a realistic expectation that it will probably continue to happen. It's just the peaks get higher and higher and the dips get less and less low, essentially.
Shallower. That's the word you're looking for.
They get more. Yes, they get more and more shallow, less deep. And the thing that I would pay attention to is, like, let's say for my example, walking. I essentially would need like a day or two of not doing the walk before trying it again. If your pain elevates and persists for I would say 3 or 4 plus days, then I would have a conversation with your clinician who's helping guide you through this and let them know that, because I do think that means that you're not even close to being ready for that type of push or, But I think most of the time the issue is that there's a fear that you re-injured or you aggravated or you're just never going to be the same. And most of the time, none of that is true. So just know that. We like to tell ourselves fake stories.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Stories that we tell ourselves.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please remember to like and subscribe.
There you go.
I know I fucked it up last time. I got it today. Like and subscribe, share it with somebody who you think that this would be really helpful for. And we'll see you. Oh, wait, shit. We have to talk about what we're reading, watching, listening to. We kind of talked about the Twilight Zone earlier.
Yeah, we did at the beginning. Okay.
Should I go through my outro again?
I think we're good.
Yeah, we are. I wasn't going to do it. All right. So we'll see you guys next week, or we'll talk to you guys next week. So
you'll hear from us next week.
Yeah. Okay. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.